need to know this. George Zimmerman faced a judge today where he was given an arraignment date of May 29th. According to his lawyer, Zimmerman will plead not guilty to charges of second-degree murder and the shooting death of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin in Sanford, Florida. So while Zimmerman will finally get his day in court and a community can begin the healing process, attention is now turning to the Shoot First laws in Florida and dozens of other states across the nation. They give people like Zimmerman legal cover when they shoot people. Led by New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, several organizations like the NAACP, the National Urban League, and Color of Change are launching a movement to have the Koch brothers' Shoot First laws repealed. Here was Mayor Michael Bloomberg speaking out on this issue yesterday.
It's now clear that these laws have undermined the integrity of the justice system and done real harm to public safety. They have sown confusion in police departments about when to make arrests. They have made it more difficult for prosecutors to bring charges in cases of deadly violence. And these stand-your-ground states have seen a major increase in so-called justifiable homicides. These laws have not made our country safer. They have made us less safe.
As Mayor Bloomberg pointed out in a press conference on Wednesday, and as this chart shows, states that have passed Shoot First laws have seen a massive increase in so-called justifiable homicides, making communities, as he said, less safe. But doesn't this evidence, plus the death of Trayvon Martin, prove that these laws are dangerous to our communities and should be repealed? Here to offer his take is Neal Asbury, CEO and host of the Truth for America radio show and author of the book Conscientious Equity. Neal, welcome.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for joining us, Neal. People have more cover to shoot and kill others thanks to these stand-your-ground laws, frankly, than they do in Iraq, and more cover than a police officer does. In other words, if you or I were to shoot somebody under these laws, we wouldn't have to jump through as many hoops before we pull the trigger as a police officer would or a soldier in Iraq or Afghanistan. Isn't that fundamentally wrong?
Well, first of all, Tom, the whole idea of stand your ground in defending yourself and defending your families goes back to the Bill of Rights. It goes back to the Second Amendment, and has already been adjudicated by the Supreme Court in 1895 as being constitutional. So, I mean, the legal basis,
something's constitutional doesn't make it good law.
Behind this. Yeah, but okay, let's talk about the unique case of Florida, because we have these natural catastrophes called hurricanes here, where all of a sudden families could be without their homes. It happened in 1992 in homes at a short distance from where I'm sitting right now, where families were huddled in debris that once was their homes. We had thugs and gangs and rapists roaming the communities and hurting these families and taking from these families, raping daughters and wives. I mean, it just was totally insane.
Neal, all this law has done.
It took 3 days for the federal troops to arrive. What were these people supposed to do for 72 hours?
You defend yourself. You shoot somebody.
Defend themselves.
Neal, all this law does is change the threshold. Under, historically, and if you could take it all the way back to British law, if you want to take it back to the Magna Carta, you can. Historically, a civilian does not use deadly force unless there's no other option. And the same is true, by the way, of police officers and of soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. What these laws do is they say you can use deadly force when you have a variety of other options. You can run, you can scream, you can hit somebody over the head with a 2x4, or you can kill them. When you've got a variety of options like that, you should, by law, be required to use the less lethal options before you kill somebody. Trayvon Martin was armed with a bag of Skittles and a can of iced tea. He did not represent a threat, and George Zimmerman should have, at the very least, determined whether there was a real threat or not have been in his face and done what the police officer said.
But Tom, I think that you're confusing and condemning this law for the Trayvon Martin case. And even the state of Florida has said this is not stand your ground. Why would they file the second-degree murder charge if they thought this was stand your ground? Let's not take this case, and boy, my heart goes out to the Martin family. And no parent should ever have to bury their child. And my heart also goes out to the Zimmermans and to this nation. But the courts will get this right. If this is not stand your ground, the courts will say it wasn't. But you're confusing stand your ground around with the Trayvon Martin case, and I don't buy
Here's
that
why.
logic.
Here's why.
You know,
George
every
Zimmerman's
good
lawyer.
person should be able to stand their ground and live versus stand your ground and die. We should be able to stand our ground and protect our wives and our daughters because they're going to be raped. And I want the law to be on the side of the good people who are trying to protect their property and to protect their families. And that's what stand your ground is all about.
You're putting the law just as equally, just as easily on the side of some thug who says, and I would, well, I'm not going to prejudge the case, but George Zimmerman's lawyer came out and said these laws are referred to among lawyers as license to murder laws. That was his phrase, license to murder. And when he was asked bluntly, straight up, under these laws, can a person shoot first and ask questions later and not be prosecuted? Is it possible to kill somebody and not be prosecuted? He said yes. This is fundamentally wrong.
Tom, I mean, well, Tom, you know, obviously, you know, I'm not a shoot-to-kill guy. I mean, I want to exhaust all options. However, if my life, if my property, if my wife, if my children are at risk, and it's unprovoked, and it's forced upon me, the law should be on my side to defend my family and to defend my belongings.
You don't
and that's American. It goes right back to the Bill of Rights. You know, this is in our Constitution.
Neal,
we have to defend ourselves in this country. That's what America was built upon.
Neal, it's, you know, it's not unconstitutional to eat 5 pounds of sugar either, but it's not a good, well, that's a lousy analogy because it doesn't have to do with killing people, but this is what you are suggesting.
I just can't confuse. I just don't want to confuse this.
You keep dragging out. I'm going to prevent my wife from getting raped. I mean, you try to make the language as inflammatory as possible. Nobody.
Well, you say shoot to kill, Tom. You say shoot to kill. That's inflammatory.
Nobody has to tolerate violence in this country. You don't need a shoot first law in order for people to defend themselves.
What are you supposed to do? Stand there and die?
No, if you are confronted with deadly force, you can use deadly force. But if you're confronted with a bag of Skittles and a can of iced tea, you don't shoot first.
But Tom, we don't know that. Let the
That's going to be part of this guy's defense, and that's why this guy has been out for 6 weeks.
But this is not about mob justice here. Let the courts work. They will get it right. I have every faith in the Florida legal system. We don't know the facts yet, but the Florida legal system is saying this is not.
Texas has seen a 70% increase in justifiable homicides. Florida, 200% increase. Arizona, 49%. All since these laws that were pushed out of the Koch brothers' ALEC have been passed. I mean, this is crazy. Georgia, 100%. Missouri, 122%. This is unjustifiable.
Tom, Governor Bush, where this law was passed under Governor Bush, said this was a common sense solution to crime prevention.
And
I stand with the governor
wrong
on this. You know, we're in a state that could have catastrophes, and we have to let our citizens defend themselves if law enforcement cannot defend themselves.
Neal,
by the way, Governor Bush
we're out of time.
is still and will be for a long time the most popular governor in Florida.
We got you talking, but thank you, Neal. Thank you very much for dropping by.